In the depths of a dense forest, among old trees and overgrown paths, stood an abandoned motel. Once it had been a place of rest and solitude for travelers seeking refuge from the hustle of the world, but now its walls were draped in the cobwebs of oblivion, its windows shuttered, and its doors broken. The place where laughter and joyful conversations once echoed had transformed into a grim, forgotten establishment. One evening, as the Friday twilight descended, a group of friends decided to venture into this motel. Through the veil of mystical rumors and mysterious tales, they found their way to this forsaken corner. Despite the air being laden with humidity and the scent of decay, and the dark clouds concealing the last rays of the setting sun, they chose to spend the night in this place. Inside the motel, a dead silence prevailed, interrupted only by the creaking of the wooden floors beneath their feet. The furniture was covered in mold, and the decor was decayed with peeling wallpaper. Antique lamps hung from the ceiling like silent witnesses to times gone by. The friends, as if transported to another era, settled into one of the rooms and decided to entertain themselves with old board games, hoping to alleviate the tension created by the atmosphere. With each passing minute, the surroundings grew darker, and the motel seemed to come alive with its own secret life. The first eerie sounds, barely audible rustling, creaks, as if footsteps in the corridors began to frighten the friends. They tried to dismiss their fears, attributing all the strange noises to the wind and the creaky structure of the motel. But as the night progressed, events became increasingly inexplicable and eerie. One of the friends thought they saw a figure in the window, a face contorted in a smile before vanishing into the darkness. Another friend began to hear whispers and the cries of a woman, yet there was no one around. A third friend thought they saw the flicker of a candleless light in one of the rooms, but as they approached, the candle extinguished on its own. Fear and paranoia gripped the friends. They questioned their perception of reality, but soon, the motel's past began to manifest in all its dreadful truth. They discovered hidden rooms filled with scattered notes and photographs. It turned out that this motel had been the hunting ground of a serial killer who preyed on victims right there. With each revelation, the friends delved deeper into the history of the motel and the killer. They began to see the ghosts of the victims, hearing their cries and moans. The secrets of the past slowly became intertwined with the present, and the friends realized they couldn't leave this place until they uncovered the truth. With each step towards the truth, the motel grew more sinister. They found the killer's diary, detailing the gruesome specifics of each crime. Gradually, it became clear that the souls of the deceased couldn't find peace due to their thirst for vengeance. The night seemed endless, and the friends understood they had to finish what the killer had started. With each unfolding fact, they inched closer to the truth, and finally, they found the last key to the puzzle, the location where the remains of his last victim were buried. Having made a horrifying discovery, the friends decided to return the body of the murdered woman to her final resting place. After doing so, the ghosts began to disappear, the eerie sounds subsided, and the motel began to crumble into dust, as if its sinister power had been broken. Morning came as the wounded and exhausted friends emerged from the ruins of the motel. All that remained behind was dust and memories of the night of terror, but they knew they had done what was necessary to free the souls of the departed and protect future travelers from the evil that had been hidden within the abandoned motel. The Sleeping Mirror Motel stood in a quiet corner far from the bustle of the city. Its facade emitted a mysterious allure, drawing travelers and wanderers in. Each room of this motel had enormous mirrors, as if attempting to capture and preserve the moments of every guest's life. But few knew that behind each pane of glass lay something more terrifying than a mere reflection. A young woman named Anne arrived at the Sleeping Mirror Motel, hoping to find shelter from her own thoughts. Her soul was wounded by a tragedy that had taken away what was most dear to her. After that horrific event, all she could do was run, trying to escape the pain and emptiness that had filled her being. The motel, hearing the cries of wanderers, seemed to invite her with its mysterious atmosphere. Anna rented one of the mirrored rooms. At first, she enjoyed the wondrous reflections, seeing herself from thousands of different angles. But as time went on, the mirrors began to reveal their true nature. The first strange incident occurred when Anna saw her reflection start to distort. Her eyes turned red and swollen, and her mouth contorted into a horrifying grin. It was as if the mirror had captured her pain and was attempting to express it on its glass surface. Anna recoiled, frightened as she tried to comprehend what had happened. But when she looked at the mirror again, her reflection returned to its normal state. The next incident was even more shocking. One day, while looking into the mirror, Anna saw herself in complete darkness. She stood in a blood-soaked room, surrounded by ominous figures. Her reflection showed her committing inhuman acts she would have never imagined in real life. She tried to look away, but somehow her gaze was fixed on the horrifying scene. When she managed to tear her gaze away from the mirror, she felt that something had changed within her. With each passing day, the mirrors grew more eerie and captivating. They showed her moments from her past she wished to forget and horrors that could unfold in the future. She realized that the mirrors were opening doors to a parallel reality where her tragedy had taken a completely different turn. Anna began to explore the motel and its history. She discovered that the motel had been built on the site of an old house that had burned down in a mysterious fire. The owner of the house perished in the flames, and the mystery of his death remained unsolved. Locals spoke of strange occurrences and shadows that lurked in the darkness of the night. With each reflection, with each moment spent in the motel, Anna delved further into darkness. She encountered monsters that seemed real only in the mirrors. She saw herself in different roles, both killing and saving, mad and rational. Eventually, Anna realized that to save herself and avoid a dreadful future, she had to unravel the secret of the mirrors and their connection to the parallel reality. She began to study the motel's history, uncovering dark secrets and attempting to understand how to stop the ominous unfolding of events. Her path to the solution was full of trials and fears. She learned that the motel had been cursed after the fire, and the mirrors had become portals between worlds. The former owner of the motel had tried to harness this power for his own purposes, but his ambitions had resulted in horrific consequences. Struggling against monsters and her own fears, Anna finally understood that she had to sacrifice a part of herself to close the portals and free the motel from the curse. Her journey reached its climax as she stood before a massive mirror at the heart of the motel, ready to enact the final act. The mirror's light blinded her, and she found herself in a realm where past, present, and future merged into one. There, she battled inner demons and forces of darkness to find the key to sealing the portals. Her determination and courage became her only weapons. Anna awoke in her room, and this time the mirrors were calm. She felt that something had changed within her. Her struggle with the mirrors of terror had left its marks, but now she was ready to move forward, liberated from the burden of the past and ready to embrace the future. The Sleeping Mirror Motel was no longer a place of horrors. Now it bore witness to a woman who managed to conquer her inner demons and find light in the deepest darkness. Her story became a part of the motel, a part of its mystery and allure.